Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Tea Time. Today on Tea Time, we have a story and an idea, so I'm gonna bump my microphone a little bit as well. Why not? I was shoveling, as many New Englanders do. We had a snowstorm recently, past a few days, a little while ago. I've been meaning to make this video for a couple of days, but here it is. And I was shoveling, just normal New England thing. If there's snow, we have to shovel it. I think we had like, half a foot or almost a foot, maybe. I think 10 inches around there. And so there was a lot of snow, and my parents' property has a big driveway, and then we have to shovel out a spot for the trash cans, and then shovel out the fire hydrant because there's a fire hydrant on the property. And then we have this back area as well that we shovel that, and then there's this egress area that's actually right over there. That's my escape hatch in case there's a fire on that side. I need to escape out of the basement, etc. And so there's a lot of shoveling to be done. And so we go out there and we shovel and we shovel and we shovel, and we pretty much finish. My mom goes inside. My dad likes to stay out and shovel once and then not have to go out a second time if he can avoid it. So he was just kind of hanging out. He's like, all right, maybe it's going to be slowing down. And we're just sort of skimming the top, as the snow goes by and sort of hanging out. And there's a neighbor of mine who I actually don't like very much. For a number of reasons. I have many different friends. One of my friends happens to be a person of color, and we were hanging out, and like the dirtiest possible looks ever from this dude and his wife. Whenever like I happened to be in view of them, we would look up and they'd be like grilling us, and it'd just be like, just please, what's the big deal? Please chill. And she took it a little bit harder than I did for obvious reasons, like it's personal, right? And so that was sort of a frustrating thing, and they come from a much more traditional sort of a background, right? So some of the things that they've done are, just disrespectful things, not treating everyone as equals and things like that. And that's something that's important to me. So this would bug me a lot, right? And in general, I kind of just, do the friendly thing, be the neighborly friendly. Hi, yeah, hi, how's it going? It's just, and that's it, right? It's like, I don't want to talk to you. I don't. And it's not it's not anything that I'm interested in. I don't like you, right? But we're getting towards the end of things, and the shoveling was going down, and my dad and I went out for a walk to, just walk around and see, how everything's going, talk about some stuff in the snow. It's kind of nice to take a snow walk. The snow kind of absorbs a lot of the sound, so it's very quiet and very sort of meditative and nice. So my dad and I went out for a walk, and we see this guy, right, pulling in. He's coming back from work, and he's pulling into his driveway and such, and oh, hey, how's it going, blah, 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 blah. And he kind of makes these, you know what I'm talking about. You kind of make these like leading comments like, oh man, gotta shovel out the driveway. Man, it's gonna be, I got my snowblower and everything, but I gotta shovel the car out just so I can get the snowblower out, and he's sort of like leading comments like, AKA, hey, I want you to help me with this thing. And immediately my response internally is just sort of like, I don't like you. I'm not going to help you. Like, get out of here. But obviously I don't say any of that. And my dad was with me at the time. He was like, oh yeah, cool. Yeah, all right. Yeah. It's tough, making sort of non-committal statements and just sort of being friendly in general. And so we wait around, and we're waiting for the plow to go by. So if y'all haven't shoveled before, this is kind of how it works. In my experience, right? You shovel, you go out and you shovel, and the bottom of your driveway is the nastiest, heaviest, crystallized ice chunk rocks, snow, right? The heaviest stuff that you really don't want to shovel. And whenever the plow goes by, it leaves a big mound of stuff, right, in front of the driveway. And so that's a big part of waiting around for the plow to come by, because you can shovel everything perfectly and it's nice and it's great. You go inside, and as soon as you go inside, the plow goes by, a giant mound of snow, and you're just like, oh, I just took all the snow gear off. I'm sweaty, I'm tired, I don't want to do this. And then you have to go back out and shovel that, because if you don't, then you have to lip jump over it with your car. And my mom has a SUV. My dad has a regular loaded around kind of a car that you really don't want to do that with. So in any case, we were waiting around for the plow to come by, and the plow wasn't coming by, and the plow wasn't coming by, and we see the guy right from before across the street, the neighbor, and he starts, doing the shovelly thing, and we're like, all right, cool. He's shoveling, and we're actually about to go in, and I'm starting to take my gloves off and stuff like that. And my dad just kind of looks over at me. He's like, hey, should we help him out? And immediately, internally inside of me, I was like, no, I don't like this guy. We shouldn't help him out because he's disrespectful to my friends and my family. That's not cool. But I was like, I don't know. My dad is sort of, it's hard to say no to my dad a lot of times. He's, I don't know. He just says things in such a way where it's just, hey, do you want to, should we help him out? Not do you want to help him out, right? It's like, should we help him out? And it's just like, I'll follow your lead. Whatever you do, I'm with you. All right. You make the decision. I kind of pushed it back on him. I was like, you make the decision. I don't want to make that decision. But if you do this, I will help out. Right. That was my commitment. So, he started walking over. I was like, I put my gloves back on and get the shovel, and we shoveled him out. We help him, shovel out the front part, the nasty part, so that way he could get the car out and get a snowblower and start snow blowing. And it felt really good. And we actually got to talk with him a little bit, and he's generally, been kind and respectful and engaging with other, heterosexual white males. So no problems there for me and my dad. And my dad at this point in time, and this is the smoothness of my dad. I forget exactly what he said, but it was something like, okay. It was like he pointed over to the next door neighbor. Was like, hey, does she have anybody who helps her shovel out? Because there's this, a person or whatever who is living alone, and maybe they don't have anybody to help them out. Maybe they might need some help, kind of a thing. And and the first guy, right, says, oh yeah, I think she's got someone to help her out. Clearly not knowing for sure, but just sort of, one of these, I'm gonna say it so I don't have to help out. But it was this interesting, like, we're gonna help this person, and then we're gonna, slightly encourage them or leverage them to be like, hey, we just helped you. How about, we all help someone else, and trying to build momentum with that sort of positivity and helpfulness and things like that. And so we finished the plow mound. We clear it out for him, and then we go over and we start shoveling out the next person. And this it sort of hit me when all that was going on during the shoveling, because there's not a lot of talking too much during shoveling. You're making noise and you're moving back and forth. You're not always in speaking distance. You're not always looking the right direction. So there's a lot of time to think. And so I was just thinking about, like, man, like, this feels really good. I'm like so happy that I did this, but it took my dad really, like, sort of manipulating me, and not intentionally, I don't think. This is sort of the way that he is, and just pushing me to be better, right? And it's so interesting because as that was happening, I started remembering this Simon Sinek, I think is the way you pronounce his name. Simon Sinek. He does a bunch of talks. His TED Talk is like, I think it's the top 3 of all TED Talks ever. I'll link some of his stuff so you can check it out. It's pretty wild. It's very interesting. And in one of the talks, he is considering how people are fulfilled, right? You have all these rich people with all this stuff, and it's classic, right? Then they're depressed and they're taking all kinds of medication, and they have all kinds of stresses in their life. They're unhappy, right? So there's always this classic sort of thing that floats around. Money doesn't buy happiness. Okay, great. Okay, wonderful. I've heard that a million times. Not anything new, right? But his sort of assertion is not a word. Assertion was that to be fulfilled, you have to do something for somebody else. And that's really where you get this, like, really contentment and fulfillment in your life. You have to do something for somebody else. And I'll let him do the talking for that point, but that's the gist of it for this particular conversation, right? And so it all kind of lined up for me in my head, which is sort of, I have this initial barrier of someone just trying to get me to help them, especially this, right? Someone's trying to get me to help them. I'm immediate like, no, you can't manipulate me into helping you. You can't take advantage of me, very defensive, right? But it was just some shoveling. Right? It didn't take very long, and it's physically beneficial for me to shovel, right? It's just like I'm building my muscles and making my body stronger. There are a lot of benefits in the short term for me, but thinking of the feeling that you get from helping someone else as its own reward is a sort of interesting concept that I didn't really put all the pieces together until that moment when I was shoveling, and the last sort of step in the story was that my dad never asked me or the neighbor that I don't like to help. He never actually said the words, "Will you help this person?" or "Will you help me with this?" It was just sort of, suggestive type stuff, kind of letting you get to the road on your own. And he didn't end up helping the neighbor out, the other neighbor out. But we did, and we shoveled it out, and she actually came out. She came out of the house. She saw us, that we were shoveling her driveway, right? Just people shoveling her driveway. And she knows us. Well, she at least knows my dad, right? Because she's been in the neighborhood a while. And so she's like, "Oh my God, someone's coming to help plow, but thank you so much, really appreciate it." And she was just all smiles and super happy. And, I in turn, felt super happy for, helping her, or just, causing that positive reaction, positive emotion in this other person. It was like, and to me, she's a stranger. I've never talked to her before or anything like that. But it was really wild, and it made me think about how communities are formed and how relationships are formed, and the idea that there's just so many people outside when it's snowing. We're all shoveling. You see all the neighbors in the neighborhood, they're all shoveling, they're brushing off their cars, they're doing this, they're doing that, and we're all kind of just out there. But a lot of times we don't talk to one another. And I think sometimes maybe the way to facilitate making a better community or building a community, right, is to just start helping people. Just get in that mode, get in that mood of people helping other people and spreading positivity and things like that, right? And so we're gonna take a final turn in this, and we're gonna come over to the StarCraft community. So recently there was this poll, right? There was this poll, and I think it's still going on. There's this brackets. It's in the March Madness theme. If you don't know what March Madness is, it's a college basketball tournament. It's just the time of year where the college basketball kind of peaks up into the playoffs, and they call it March Madness because it always happens in March. It's very exciting and fun. It's a big, American culture kind of a thing if you're into basketball. And so a lot of people do these little brackets and tournaments with other sports in sort of the honor of March Madness, or the, tapping on the culture, or to get clicks or views, or whatever the purpose might be. And ESPN Esports is doing one right now, I think. And we had a match between, it was Flash and this guy, Problem, I think it was. I'm 99% sure it was Problem. I'm going to look it up. Aha, I was right. It was Problem. So it was Flash against Problem. I think when the post initially went up on our StarCraft, right, it was Problem was winning, and we couldn't have that. And all of this sort of ego and pride, just everyone just sat up in their chairs in that moment in time, and they were like, we need to defeat this menace, playing this inferior game. And that's interesting, right? For a couple of reasons. First of all, I think a lot of it comes from StarCraft was the biggest esport in the world. StarCraft 2 was the biggest esport in the world. And then the MOBAs came, and all of these like really accessible games that were a lot easier to learn, than StarCraft, right? StarCraft has this very big barrier to entry as far as skill is concerned. You have to put a lot of time and effort in before you can start like, oh, cool. You start feeling the flow of things. You can start improvising and it feels really great. But to get to that point, there's a lot of mechanical barriers, right? And there's a lot of, there's some, barriers to entry monetarily as well. You have to buy StarCraft. A lot of these new games that came up and sort of took over the esports scene were free to play or very cheap, like CSGO. I think you can, if it's on sale, you can get, I think I got my copy for like $5 or something. It's really cheap. But in any case, that created a lot of what I think is insecurity in the StarCraft community and a lot of tribalism, right? A lot of us versus them sort of mentality. And that's all that stuff, all of that history that we have that's sort of like seeded, like right, it's a seed, it roots and it grows inside of us and it's sort of like, manipulating us in a way to act more negatively toward other games, right? We become very defensive about other games being popular or any sort of competition. So this brought all that out, and I think it's fine, right? Competition's great, and it would be really cool if everyone was like, hey, don't forget, Flash did this and this and this and this. He's awesome. Check out, consider the beginning of esports and the history and talking positively why Flash should get your vote, right? It's a pretty classic political thing too, right? Slandering your opponent instead of, propping yourself up. And I think it does tend to work better for whatever reason. I don't imagine the political strategist would continue to do it if it wasn't working, right? So it's just so much negativity. It's so much like all over Twitter and just like personal attacks on this dude problem, right? And he's apparently, I don't follow Matt at all, he's apparently this great Madden player, been at the top of the game for years and stuff, worked really hard to get where he is and stuff like that. But, all this animosity, no respect for the work that he's put in. And sure, did I vote for Flash? Yes. I did. I absolutely did. Because I think Flash is more of a legend than Problem is, regardless of the fact that he comes from Madden or any other game, right? But, that's great, positivity. That's fine. I think Flash is great. I don't have any problem with Problem. Hey, waiting for me to make that joke for the whole tea time. Haven't you? I've been waiting for it. But in any case, the idea is that this idea of community, right? This positivity, this helping each other out type of a thing is completely, I feel like the StarCraft community has moved away from that, and or maybe it was never there, maybe I was unreasonably optimistic, but in any case, what was so interesting is after that level of negativity, there were a bunch of people who came around being super negative about people being negative about this competition. So now we're just like stacking the negativity up. It's meta negativity at this point. It's just like, what is it? What kind of a relationship is it? Is it a parabola? Who knows, right? And so I feel like maybe this is, maybe a little bit naive or simplistic. Maybe it feels that way, but maybe instead of stacking criticism on criticism and me criticizing those people, right? And then you can view this as a criticism, as a negative and non-constructive criticism. But I want to kind of turn it around and, make a sort of mini call to action here. Let's just attempt to see the point of view of the other people that we're talking to and ask more questions instead of, making more judgments, perhaps, finding a positive way to put the spin on things and spreading that, giving people that positive, happy feedback. It's almost like it's like a lot of religions, right? So a lot of religions will aggressively, I think proselytize is the correct word. They'll aggressively sort of say, you should believe what I believe, and this is why. I'm going to tell you all about it. And I think we all kind of have a pretty negative like, ugh, no, right? Whether you're religious or not, right? If you're say you're a Catholic person and someone who is, you know, a Muslim comes around and they say, hey, you know, you should believe what I believe, and this is my evidence, and these are my stories, this is my truth, you know, I don't want to share it with you or whatever. Yeah, no. But I mean, you switch it around the other way, and it's that same response with this sort of aggressive proselytizing, right? And I think that we see a lot of that in video games and in StarCraft and esports. There's a lot of this tribalism, right? A lot of this us versus them stuff. But I feel like it's coming from a place of insecurity, and I feel like we don't need it. I feel like it's like, imagine if I had gone inside instead of helping that guy out. And I didn't really like that guy, obviously, right? But I helped him out anyway. And even though I was helping a guy that I didn't like, I still felt really good about it. It made me really happy, really fulfilled in a serious contentment kind of a way, not just a, oh, cool, I got a new monitor, sick, which is also really cool, but it's sort of short-lived, right? And the idea of building this community and sticking together and being positive, I don't think it has to be this us versus them. So just my 2 cents on the subject. Got a lot of, lots of ins and outs going on, but we haven't had one of these little tea times in a while where I just kind of spitball on ideas. So let me know what you think. What are some ways maybe that we can be more positive, as a gaming culture, as a RTS culture, as a StarCraft culture, however small you want to make it, as a Protoss culture, right? Because there's tribalism between the Protosses and the Terrans and the Zergs too, within our own. It just gets smaller and smaller, but maybe there are ways that we can accomplish the same goals but be a little bit happier about it. I think we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot with all this negativity and defensiveness, and we're actually missing out on a lot of personal happiness, personal fulfillment that we could be having. It's not even an altruistic thing. It's just sort of, if you know ahead of time that helping someone else is going to make you feel really good, and you're okay with saying, I'm helping you because it's going to make me feel really good. Imagine if everybody did that, right? It's pretty solid. It's pretty, you're not going to change the world or whatever. You're going to have a tiny impact, but it's going to make you feel good. It's going to make you feel better than, a new something or other that you purchase might be, or something like that. So my name is JaKaTaK, and as always, thanks for watching. If you have any ideas for a video you would like me to do, please leave with any questions, comments, criticisms, concerns, or anything we can let us see in the comment section below, and I'll see you again soon.